So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a lot of plants, handle them, learn how to identify them, and also what you can do with them. And not just eating them, but ethnobotany means all the uses of a plant. So their cultural uses, their folk uses, medical, and food. So we'll learn all of them. Yesterday we learned how to do a couple things with first aid with plants. So you guys have to help me teach the grown-ups about that today, okay? Awesome. So our only rule for today is please do not put anything in your mouth without showing it to me first, and do not take anything away to eat secretly. If you secretly eat a plant, I'm going to have to strongly recommend you go to the hospital immediately, even if you think it was a safe one, just because I can't be sure what you ate. So no secret eating or you have to go to the hospital, okay? Can we all agree on that together? Looking at me, right? All right, we got it. Yep. You guys are big kids. You got this down. Do you guys have any questions before we get started? And this is just a conversation. If you have a question, don't think it's not a good one. It's totally reasonable, and other people are probably wondering it too if you wonder it as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I asked lots of silly questions yesterday,
and she
wasn't mean about it.
Oh,
so.
You didn't ask any silly questions. So let's go outside. Let's go eat some plants.
Awesome.
Right, purple archangel. So y'all, I want to show you a few weeds first, because they're definitely things you'll see all over the place. And even though they're not native to this area, they're really useful and really cool. So feel free to reach down and pick up one of these plants that are just, you'll see these all over lawns right now in disturbed areas.
It's called a purple archangel.
You're correct. It's called purple archangel or purple dead nettle. It's Lamium purpureum. Easy to remember because it's, if you rub it on your face, soft as a lamb. It's very fuzzy and wool, and it's in the mint family. If you smell it, give it a little smell. It has a strong smell. You guys smell it? And if you have a flower, feel free to pull the flower out, and you can eat it. They're very kind of mild and sweet sometimes if they have nectar in them. But if the butterflies have already gotten it out, sometimes they just kind of
flower.
Yeah, right. They get some with flowers in them, so you can eat those flowers. They're really good on salads. They make them really pretty. Right?
I got a sweet one.
Oh, you did? Awesome. So also, this entire thing is edible. These can be cooked like spinach. And last night we had them for dinner. We chopped these really fine, mix them with egg, and you can fry them. They're delicious. Raw, they're not that tasty because of the fuzz. But they're really good diced up fine.
Can you wash the feathers off?
You can't. No, it's not like a peach. Like you can rub it, feel it, just go ahead and do that, and it won't quite come off. It will mush it up a little bit.
Would you put it in a scrambled egg?
Yeah, you can cook it up right in scrambled eggs.
Hello.
Oh yeah. So y'all, we're looking
We're
looking at this plant right here. We're gonna start by looking at some weeds because they're so common. It's good to know what their uses are because they're everywhere. So feel free to pick one up, and if you want, if it's got pink flowers in it, pull them out.
All right, if you just come to me for a second, I gotta get you to sign something.
So you can pull the flowers out and eat them. You can also eat the whole top. The stem, you can eat it. It's not inedible, but it's not good. It doesn't taste good. So I pull the stem off, and I'll just chop the tops up for food. And these are extremely nutritious. They also, if you have allergies in the spring, eating a lot of these and drinking the tea of them help you with allergies.
And what is this called?
Purple archangel or purple dead nettle. And you can
I got
also,
a bunch of these in my yard. I was going to go cut them tomorrow.
yeah, they're delicious cooked. They're not, like I said, eating them raw. Like you can taste the leaf raw if you want to. Go ahead.
Leaf.
And the whole thing is edible, but it's a little unpleasant texturally. So cooking them makes them yummy. That's a good way to eat them.
Did you say we can taste it?
You can taste the leaf. Thank you for double checking. I was dead nettle because it's dead nettle because it doesn't sting, but it looks like the stinging nettle. And if you touch it, it won't sting you. That's why it's called dead nettle. Which I think is bad to put the word dead in a plant that's edible. So you could eat the whole thing, or you can dry them and save them for tea for allergies. Really good for stuffy noses or pressure in the sinuses. You can also take.
I'm sorry, you got me sniffing.
I wish we could eat them. So these you can also tincture these, which is just soaking them in alcohol and then taking the drops. You can take a whole dropper full from a tincture tube. Is good for once a day for allergies. So these are great. I like to make tea with them though, and you just sweeten it with honey, and it's very pleasant. And honey also helps with allergies, right? The local honey. It's very good stuff. So this is purple archangel, and we always know.
I had laryngitis, I would go to the doctor, and they'd say get honey tea.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's very good. So the way we can tell what family the plant is in is if you pick it up and you feel the stem with your fingers. You feel it's kind of geometric. It's a square. Do you feel that? So mint family always has a square stem and opposite leaves. And if you look at the leaves, how they grow, they're across from each other and they go in a pattern. Some people call this purple pagoda, like a house, because it looks like a little roof. So square stem, opposite leaves, you know it's the mint family, which is Lamiaceae, and this is Lamium, so it's mint family.
Now
Very
these were
cool, right?
planted here.
So these are a weed. They just come up.
Oh, they just come
Yeah,
up.
they just, and you'll find these everywhere.
Okay.
You'll start, when you see these now, you'll start seeing them everywhere.
If you
think
accidentally
that,
hurt somebody on April Fool's,
Been around here all my life. I
There
know
you
some
go.
of this, but I don't. But it's not a lot I know.
Yeah, and to be positive you have it, just check that the square stem, it's fuzzy,
Yeah.
pink flowers, opposite leaves, and you know you've got
and
Lamium
more, it's more
purpureum.
like a red.
So this is a good one, and I love to eat these in the spring. I eat them almost every day. It's like free spinach, you know, but
Oh, you
even more
dry them to make
nutritious.
a tea out of them for allergies.
Yes, totally. You can dry them right up and put them into a tea. All you have to do is just, or you can make them fresh. Just take the tops, put them in a cup, boil water, pour it over, let it sit 10 minutes, and then strain it and drink it. And I would add a little sweetener because it's a strong taste. So you make it a
And
tea.
If you get hurt,
Oh yeah, will you show us how to do the other thing you can do with it? They learned this yesterday in their program.
take that and smush it up.
And then what do you do with it?
And if you have a scratch, just rub it on the scratch.
Exactly. You can use it as a poultice for wounds and stings and burns. Take the plant in your hand and smush it up, because that way you can release the chemicals. It has a chemical
So
in
you're
it
gonna
called
try it, huh?
quercetin,
Oh yeah, I
which is
got one.
antihistamine.
You
All
got
my
one.
children love these. So grab you a piece so we can all look together. You good?
Maybe Mama, please.
Yeah, we're gonna check out this plant next. It's really interesting. It grows in mats.
This is what it's meant to be for. Used for.
You guys see this one down here?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Grow on people.
Yeah, it
They're
grows in a big mat,
magnets.
and you'll see it around a lot. Now feel it with your fingers. What does it feel like?
They do.
Little spiky. If you look close to it, it has little hooks all over it, and if you put it on your clothes, it's over here, growing all over the front. And this stuff has also come from Europe, and it's called cleavers because it cleaves to you. It sticks on you. And I tell the kids if you put it on you, it's your badge for being a plant person. All right, here you go. So you can eat this too. What you do is you take the top, pinch it between your fingers, and then rub it between your fingers. It gets the little hairs off, and then take the green pill. Tastes like lettuce. It's very mild.
Just like
Yeah, just roll it up.
dandelions.
Just like dandelions, right? It tastes like kind of like lettuce. So you'll notice too, this also has a square stem, right? But it has radial leaves, meaning the leaves grow in a circle. It's super unusual. Very few plants grow like this. So if you see a plant that is spiky with sticky hairs that sticks to you and has circular rings of leaves, you know you have cleavers. And cleavers is really good for your liver and for your kidneys. So if you have kidney or liver issues, this is a plant you want to eat and make tea from. You can also juice it or put it in a smoothie, and that's a way to get rid of that texture that's kind of unpleasant. I don't cook and eat this one a lot. I usually juice it, make it into a smoothie or tea. And in the spring, in Appalachian folk medicine, they'd use it to flush out the kidneys and the liver to get your blood clean in the spring. So this is a great spring. It comes up in the spring, then it disappears. So it's kind of reminding you, hey, you gotta start taking your vitamins because it's spring again, right?
Make a tea out of it, so make this leave dry.
You don't have to dry it. I only dry it when I want to save some, but fresh is best, right? So what I do is I macerate it, meaning I smush it up, like we like to smush our plants up, right? Look at you. You got your extensions. And then pour hot water over it and drink it up. And this is very mineral rich. So it has things like iron, manganese, magnesium, things like that we get from the earth. It's a great accumulator, meaning it sucks up all those minerals and then it gives them to you when you eat it or make a tea, right? Very good for you. So this is, what's this called?
Cleaver.
Cleavers, because it cleaves to you. So guys, come on over here. You want some?
Where's chickweed?
Where is it? It's right in front of you. Look at these little leaves, look like a mouse's ear. So guys, this is the next plant we're looking at. It's kind of viney and it has a little leaf that looks like a mouse's ear. Some people call it mouse ear chickweed. It's an easier way to remember it. So come check it out so you can see it. Yeah, so this one is my favorite spring wild green. You can just eat it. It tastes like a really nice lettuce. You want to eat it? Just take a bite. It's extremely nutritious. And it's super easy to identify because if you look at it, it has a similar top to the purple archangel, right? We're looking at that. And it also has a little white flower inside. Well, it's not open yet, but you can see a little bud right there. And if you look at the stem, it has a mohawk. It has a little stripe of hairs just in a line.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny.
And everywhere
Twist it. I see
everywhere
it
the
right
mohawk is, every time it hits a joint
Twist it.
where there's leaves, the mohawk will turn directions. Can you see these little hairs on the stem?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what you want to see.
This
Just
one's
those
got a
little
little
hairs.
purple stem to it.
Yeah, some of them have a bit of purpling in them, which is totally fine. They vary from purple to
Okay.
green.
All
What
right.
are these ones called again?
This is chickweed.
Chickweed.
And it's also a plant from Europe that was brought here for food and medicine and escaped gardens and is now a common weed.
Mhm.
People pull this out of their gardens and they hate it, but it's actually, in my opinion, one of the tastiest.
It is-
I
it
make
is
fresh
tasty.
salads with it.
It's really bright flavor.
Isn't it,
Mhm.
isn't it great? This one was used for weight loss
Where'd you
traditionally.
get that
Give me buckets of that.
So the chickweed is really good for flushing the body of toxins. So it helps you increase, this sounds weird, but it helps you pee more, which is actually good for you as long as you don't have
Old
a
men with
kidney
prostate
infection.
problems, right?
It's good. No, it is. It's very good for people with prostate problems, and it helps you move stuff out of the body. It's good to drink a lot of water. You can make tea with this.
Mm.
My favorite old Alabama herbalist, Tommy Bass, who passed away a couple years ago, he would get big bunches of it and sell it for a spring clean, like similar to the cleavers. You can mix it with cleavers in the tea or juice it to kind of get the blood clean and get urine flowing and other things moving well to clean your body out so that you can digest better and stuff like that. It's just extremely nutritious. This has 4 times more minerals than a cup of spinach does.
Mm.
And why,
Goodness.
why do you think wild plants would have more nutrients than cultivated plants? Hard to say, right? But when we breed plants, we choose them to be sweet, to last a long time on the shelf, to look nice. But each time we pick one of those characteristics, we're losing a wild characteristic. And they have to survive, right? So they have defenses up all the time. Those defenses, the chemicals in a plant that help it protect itself, are actually good for us.
Hmm.
And when we breed them out with cultivation and domestication, we breed out nutrients, unfortunately, because we pick other characteristics. So wild plants are often up to 10 times more nutritious per 100-gram serving because they're constantly fighting just for their
With
lives.
just the small purple flowers that are about 8 off of 3 or 4 plants over there.
Oh yeah.
My sinus is already cleared up.
Wait, really?
Perfect.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you'll find too, sometimes you'll eat a wild food and you'll say, oh, I really like this one. And it might be your body saying, I really need what's in this one. Like for me, when I eat chickweed, I'm like, oh, I'm often anemic. So for me, that high iron, I just want to eat a lot of it. I'll feel like, oh, I just want to get a big handful of this. So listen to how you feel. Sometimes subtle changes in your body are actually a big alert. And there's another really tasty plant right next to this one. It looks like clover. You guys see this? So there's these little heart-shaped clovers. See if you can find one. It looks like 2 hearts together and they're folded. And if you can't reach one, pass one back to your friend. That's it. You're correct. Yeah, thank you for showing me.
Hey, Maddie.
I appreciate how good you're being about checking
Can you show the
out
camera?
stuff. So you'll see it's actually not a clover. It has 2 hearts folded together. And if you look at a regular white clover, it's different. And they're not fuzzy like the clover is either. They're smooth. So you can even take your fingers and fold it in half like this, like a little heart. These are so tasty. If you like lemon, anybody here really like lemon or sour stuff? Taste this. You'll probably like it.
Where is it?
Right here, baby.
Wow. Like this one?
Here you go. There's one right there. baby.
Now, does one part of the
Tastes like
plant
lemon, right?
benefit better than the other? Like, are the leaves more nutritious than the stems? Or
Oftentimes the leaf is more nutritious because that's what the chlorophyll is. Chlorophyll is what makes plants look green. It's a nitrogen that's stuck in the leaf that makes the color green, and that's where iron lives. Okay, you're correct. Good job. Thank you for showing me. So this is called wood sorrel, or you could call it lemon sorrel to help you remember that it tastes like a lemon. And to identify that, look for those folding hearts. It doesn't have one lobe, and clovers are not poisonous, so if you make a mistake, it's okay. If it looks like a clover and it has a folding heart, then you know you have wood sorrel. And this one is just a tasty salad green. It's not super medicinal, it's just tasty and nutritious.
sorrel.
So this one we won't make a tea with, we'll just eat it in a salad. You can mix it with your chickweed salad, and if you want, you can even throw a tiny bit of dead in there. Oh, there's lots of it back there. Some people call it yellow wood sorrel, because you'll see in a few weeks, that's it right there. Good job for showing me. You'll see a yellow flower come out, and you can eat the flowers, and they taste sour too, like a lemon. They're really pretty for the
No
size.
wonder they're
That's
yellow.
why
I know, right? That's why they're called
Reaction
yellowwood sorrel. So that's yellowwood sorrel, and how do we identify it?
The
Folding
purple-
heart,
they're
right.
holding-
It's very fun. So I love all of those ones. Those are super tasty. So
Which
we've
carrot?
just seen dead nettle, chickweed, and the wood sorrel. And then I'll show you one that's really common that you guys probably already all know.
One more time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you for showing it
And
each
there?
time. I
Yeah.
really appreciate
And when they
it.
grow up a little bit, then y'all be able to.
Look how big that one is.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Ready, that one? Here's some big ones. Look at these, they're like shamrocks. So sorrel, there's all types of species of sorrel. Some have purple flowers too, and they get really big. So, but look for that folding heart. They have a really easy to see pattern in how they grow,
That one tasted kind of
Yummy.
like a sour grape.
right?
No,
So,
blackberry.
what is this plant right here?
I like it. Oh, the name's right at the tip of my tongue.
Dandelion.
Dandelion, right. So here's the dandelion, and this is a funny plant. It has a funny story. And it's called dandelion because it looks like
I know
dent.
you can eat the flowers.
You can eat the flowers, right? Dent de leon, the teeth of the lion. So look for the toothed leaf, and I'll show you how to identify dandelion because it has lookalikes. Some people say, oh, I can tell it's dandelion, but there's a lot of plants that look just like it and that are not dandelion. So grab a leaf, see if you can find one around the ground, and we'll look at it together and I'll show you how to positively ID it so you can be safe when you're choosing to eat it. Because like, look at this plant right here. Is that a dandelion? No, that's something different. Can you see how it's different? What's going on? It's fuzzy, right? So does everybody have a dandelion leaf in their hand? Are you putting more on me? So dandelion is smooth. Notice it doesn't have any hairs on it. So you found another plant that looks like a dandelion, but it's not, right?
Right.
So and
It's
also
got, spiny
it's
things
too
on it.
spiky, right? Yeah, that's a thistle or some wild lettuce. So if you look in where the leaf broke, there's a white latex that comes out. Some people say that traditionally this was used for warts. You can put that white latex on a wart every day.
You can?
You just have to make sure you put it on every day, and over time it will go away. Another good way to do it is to crush the leaf and then put a Band-Aid on it and put it in the Band-Aid to hold it on. But
Okay, I
honestly,
gotta start
apple cider vinegar is my go-to for warts.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a string that
Oh.
helps transport nutrients to like its vein. Yeah, so you can taste these leaves. They do have a bitterness to them, but honestly, eating bitter things is good for you. Do you guys know why? When you taste bitter, there's a special place on the tip of your tongue where you can taste it more than anywhere else. It tells your liver and pancreas to secrete digestive enzymes and says, hey, you're about to eat something, get ready. And so it actually helps you produce more digestive enzymes. So if you eat, that's why we eat salad first at the restaurant, because you're eating the
Oh.
bitter greens to stimulate digestion. And today, we don't like to eat bitter things. Humans have lost their taste for bitter. We like to eat sweet things. And I encourage you, if you can, cooking these with a little vinegar and butter, make them go down way nicer. And you also, balsamic vinegar is nice because it has a little sweetness to it. So I'll cook a mess of these. It's traditionally eaten in Greece and Italy in big masses. They eat a lot of dandelion. And it's really good for your digestion. And they have very low rates of heart disease, cancer, and digestive issues in Italy. And I think a lot of it's to do because they still eat the wild greens. Isn't that cool? So,
Dandelion tea is real common.
it is. The tea. What was the tea good for?
I don't know that.
You didn't like it? So my favorite way to have the tea is actually the root of dandelion is also edible. You can eat it like a carrot.
Is this dandelion?
You're correct, right? See, smooth stem and toothed leaves with no spikes on it. Very good.
Can we go into the bush? Can we eat these?
You can eat that, yes. Thank you for asking. So the tea from the leaf is a nutritive tea. It's really good for the kidneys also. It's really good if you have chronic urinary tract infection or bladder issues because it will make you pee a lot. In England, they told children they weren't allowed to touch dandelions and they called it pissa beds. That was the name for dandelion at the turn of the century in England because even touching it they thought would make you pee the bed. Because they knew back then that this was such a powerful, we call it a diuretic, a plant that makes you pee a lot. They knew that in their folk knowledge,
Yeah.
but they thought if you touched it, it would also make you pee. So they were almost there. Not quite, right? So this is called dandelion now, which I think luckily we didn't adopt that English name. We took the French name. So yesterday one of the kids said that why do we call it dandelion? And they said, because it's like its mane. The yellow flower is like the lion's mane. And I was like, that's another great way to remember. So when you're looking for dandelion, check for the white latex, smooth stems with no spikes on them, right? And no hairs. There's no hairs on it. And if you see the flower, that's a good way to identify it too. Because you want to look for that single stem with a flower on it. And you can eat the leaves and root anytime, but honestly, usually we harvest roots in the fall. Why do you think you would want to harvest them in the fall?
Because
dormant.
they're gonna
Mhm,
go
'cause
into
they're dormant.
hibernation in
Yeah.
the winter.
Yeah, so all of their nutrients are no longer in the top of the plant. They sucked it all back down. So the vitality of the plant is in the root. And you can also make a great coffee substitute from it, which my favorite is to have the root tea. It tastes like coffee, and I like to add a little bit of cream and honey to it, and it's really good for your digestion and for your liver. So it's a great way. If you don't like the green part of a tea, try the root. It's really good. You can toast it in the oven until they're brown, and they'll dry out, and you can save a ton of them. They sell dandelion root tea at the stores for like $20 a pound too. So if anyone needs a
Wow.
side job, harvesting and selling toasted dandelion roots,
Then you can
great.
have them free.
There you go. You can have it for free. I know, right? Yeah, they can be all set. So let me think. Oh, there's one more plant I want to show you over here, and then I want to go into the woods and look at some of the less weedy plants that you may see when you're walking in the woods. This is the wild onion.
Can we see the chicken? And if you
The
pull
chickens
out the
don't
root,
usually.
you can get the big onion.
Yeah,
Can we eat it?
you can. So onion grass is really easy to identify, and y'all probably already know this one, right? But it's totally safe to eat. It's just a cousin of the regular onions that you grow in your garden.
I
But
love
they're
onions.
free, and you don't have to do anything. Here you go. Have that one. So what I do is
Grass?
you can eat the whole thing, except for obviously to clean them. I clean them as I pick them, and I pull the paper like that, and then I just pull the bottom off. And then you can get the dirt off, and you have a totally clean onion in your bag to put in your foraging bag. You don't have sulfur. That's what causes onions to have that strong taste is sulfur. And eating onions is really good to prevent cancer. So eating an onion every day or something like garlic or onion, you want to get those sulfur compounds every day. Even things like sauerkraut or cabbage also have that same kind of stinky sulfur stuff. That's why people say, oh, it makes my house smell bad to cook cabbage. Some of the wild brassicas, which are the broccoli family plants like cabbage, have that same thing, but it's all good because it helps prevent cancer. So those are good things for us to move into our diet.
I like garlic.
I do too. Some people just press on them; they're hollow. Press that around, and you can feel it. It's actually a hollow stem. Yeah, it's easy to identify. Just smell it. If it smells like an onion, you got onion grass, and it's just hollow. I also noticed they have a bluish green tint to them. They're not as green as the grass around them. You'll see them sticking up really tall, and they have a bluish green tint. So we're gonna see a ton of these while we're walking in the woods today. They are up everywhere. And last night we mixed them half and half with our dead nettle purple archangel, and we made egg fritters, and they are so yummy. Especially put some sour cream on them.
Big old bite.
Really good. Yeah, and it looks like dandelion, right? But that's probably hawkweed. It's not super useful, but it's a commonly confused one. But how could you tell that was different than dandelion?
Because of
It doesn't have the tooth-like leaves.
The color, and it doesn't have the tooth-like leaves, and it's fuzzy.
Yeah.
It's not smooth.
Yeah.
Dandelion is smooth. Right?
It's a little sweeter than
There's
regular
nothing
onion.
here.
I like it.
It is a little sweeter.
How much
This,
is that?
this is no good for
No, not good for eating. It's probably good for wildlife. So whenever I say, oh, it's not ethnobotanically useful, it's not human useful, but it's probably useful to somebody that lives in the woods. Cool. So let's go run out into the woods. Julie, the trail we went on yesterday is right over there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Not a C, but you're close. The letter before C. Birch. It's not birch. It's beech. Beech is so easy to identify because look behind you. It keeps its leaves on till the very end.
I got one in my yard.
Yeah, there you go. Beech trees. We have American beech and European beech, and they both make an edible nut in the fall. The thing is, the squirrels like them so well, you'll never get one. So we look for wild nuts like black walnut, hazelnut, chestnut, and the acorn because the squirrels can't get every single one of them, so they leave some for us. But I like to carve this wood. I love to wood carve, and it makes a great cup. It won't split while it's drying. So in ethnobotany, we look at every use of a plant, not just its edibility, right? So this is good for carving. You can make tools from it. You can carve a pipe from it. It's really lovely, and it does make a little edible nut in the fall. It's really important for our squirrels, which are also delicious if you're feeling like you want to go hunt some squirrels. So to identify the beech, look for its long buds. They're really long. Y'all see that? They're like little spear points. And then those golden leaves that cling on till the very end. Some people think it does this because it makes its own compost. It saves the leaves right till before it's gonna get green again, and then it drops them, and then they rot and give the nutrients back to the trees, so it holds on to its own nutrients. Well, and that's, kind kind of where we'll all end up one day in one way or another. But then all the things will grow out of it, and so it's kind of the eternal circle. You know, it's very cool.
It's the circle of life.
The circle of life, just like in Lion King. And that is true, though. All these leaves, the way we garden, when we mulch in the garden, we're imitating the forest. We're imitating, like, putting the leaves down to let it rot to create rich soil. So let's head on off into the farm. So these are actually super useful, especially this year. What disease went through really bad this fall?
Fun!
The flu. These are really good for flu. So the sweet gum, which is around us somewhere, right? Because it dropped these gumballs. It has a leaf that looks like a 5-point star, like a handprint. And you won't mistake these for anything else. They're very unique looking. In the earlier part of the year when they're first coming out and they're still green, you can tincture them in alcohol. There's an acid in this called shigelic acid, and that is the same compound in Tamiflu. It's the same thing, but this is you can make yourself and it's free. So I think it's pretty great. You got to soak it for 6 to 8 weeks in strong vodka or brandy, and then take a couple drops of that each day to prevent the flu.
Well, I'm glad you
goodness.
clarified that because I was thinking rubbing alcohol.
You never want to ingest rubbing alcohol. They put
Yes, I
stuff
know,
in it
you know,
that will
yeah.
make you very sick or die if you drink it. It's not good for you. So this is the gumball or sweet gum tree, and they used to make beehives out of the tree because the tree rots really simply from the inside out. So when you hear people say, "I got a bee gum," it's a beehive made out of sweet gum log. So the gum tree is useful for that. And gum wood is good to carve as well. You can also make small hand tools out of it. Pipes, little figures, things like that. So
Make sure you don't step on them there.
don't step on these barefoot. And if you look inside, there's like these seeds in there. That's the part that the medicine is in those green seeds. But they're all dried out now. We can't use them. But they're good to look at so we know what to look for when they come around again.
One time I found a
Common and they're super, if you've never identified a mushroom before and you're afraid to because you're like, oh no, I'm going to kill myself with a poisonous mushroom, these are really good ones to learn first. There's no mushroom that looks like this that will hurt you. These flat mushrooms, this one's got a bit eaten up by bugs, but this is called the turkey tail mushroom. And if you look at it, why do you think it's called that?
because it looks like a turkey.
It does. It looks like a turkey's tail, and if you feel it with your finger, it has a velvety hairs on top of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass that around so everyone can feel it. It'll come in a lot of different colors. It doesn't matter what colors you have. So if you're gonna pass that around. It doesn't matter what colors it has, but you look at the top, feel for velvet on the top. It has hairs on it. The bottom is white. Little holes. So nice. Check it out. So these mushrooms are really important for treating cancer. They're made into a tea. You simmer them on the stovetop for many hours, make a strong tea, and to drink it every day. My boss's girlfriend is 29 and she got cancer of the sternum, chest cavity around her heart. And so she had to have open heart surgery at the age of 29, and they were like, we think we got it, but we couldn't get it all. And they basically gave her a very short prognosis. But now she's 35 and she uses those mushrooms every day. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's good to use in tandem with Western medicine, not instead of, right? Because a lot of our natural medicines, people will say, oh, you shouldn't use any Western medicine. You should just use herbal medicine. Why not use both, right? They have great things about both of them. You don't have to exclude one to do the other. They work together.
Look at the inside.
Powdery like
It's
substance on
orange.
it.
That's the bugs are eating it, and that's just them like the stuff they're not eating.
Oh, look, I
It's
see the
leftover.
little
Like
holes.
mushroom saw.
Those are the pores. Yeah, so she says I see the little holes. If you look, these ones are a little yellowed, but when they're fresh, they'll be quite white, and they yellow with time. So you could use these for medicine now, but they're so dried out they probably don't have very much. And you can dry them at home yourself in your oven. Just turn the oven light on, and that will keep the oven around 105 degrees for a couple days on a cookie sheet. You can dry them out and save them for tea. They're also incredibly expensive. You can sell them to health food stores for a pretty penny. So how do you identify the turkey tail? Fuzzy, velvety top, colors like a turkey's tail. They can come in brown, sometimes even purple. Very pretty ones. And the white bottom with little tiny holes. And then you know you've got turkey tail.
And they're always growing on
Dead wood.
dead wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see more if we get all the way down to that gum tree, but I don't know if we can tell. And then can you help me keep track of time? Yep. Use of DDT, which has had its own consequences. But in America, in the South, we used to experience a lot of malaria. And we don't anymore because of that. So, well, I've never tried it to put on as a repellent, but there are other plants that are good for that. But this bark, yeah, you can still use it for fevers. It's pretty good for a mild fever, or what they called a quartan fever back in the day, which was a malaria, chills, and when you get the shivers when you have a fever. specifically. So you can still use the bark of the dogwood. What I do is take little branches. Don't peel the bark off the main thing, because what will happen?
It was stink.
It will stick. No, it would kill the tree. If you pull the bark off the tree all the way around, it's just like if you pulled the skin off yourself all the way around, you'll lose that limb. So don't do that, because you'll kill the tree. What I do is I take pruners and I snip the little branches, and then you can cut them up with your pruners and boil them for probably 15 minutes, and it makes a pretty tannic kind of dry tea. And you can mix it with some other stuff like your dead nettle if you have some allergy or runny nose issues, and it's really nice. So dogwood's no longer super in use, but you can use it if you'd like to. So just look for that
How we make it
dragon hide. And there's also Asiatic dogwoods planted all over the place now, and they make an edible fruit. It looks like a comic book character. It's a little red orange circle that looks like it has spikes on it, but it's very soft. The Asiatic dogwood has delicious edible fruits. It tastes like a mango. And they're planted ornamentally all over the place. I eat them. People always like, are you all right? Do you need me to call someone for you? I'm like, no, I'm just eating these fruits. They're edible. It's fine. But at my college campus, my students would be like, Professor, what are you doing? We have a huge Asiatic dogwood outside of our building, and I would go be like, guys, you should eat these. They're so good. And they're like, no, we're not going to eat them. It's like, I promise. I know, right? Yeah, they're like, are you trying to eat dirt? Like, what are you doing? But they're delicious, and you can make wine from them and jam and things. But our native ones do not have edible berries. They have tiny little seeds you'll see that are red.
Yeah, well, just kind of go back. You were talking about the beach. I was looking at this one information I had. So it says the bark was good for backache.
Backache. Well, beech has a little bit of the similar compounds to the dogwood, so I imagine it's probably good for mild pain relief. I usually look for birch for that, though, because it has the chemical in aspirin, methyl salicylate, in the birch tree. It's really good for pain, and it's non-addictive, so it's great. You can use it every day and it won't hurt you. Or your stomach. Like if you took too much aspirin, it won't hurt the lining of your stomach. Well, any questions about dogwood? See if you can identify more as we walk. Look for the dragon hide, and you'll start to see there's a ton of them in the woods. Also, the wood is very dense. It's hard to carve, but it's great for tool handles because it's super dense. I've made mallets out of it where I would cut a branch, like from a dying tree, and I would carve, like leave the top quite thick, and then carve a handle, and I could use it as a mallet to do my wood carving with. So it's really useful for tools and good firewood. So we don't pick this plant if you see it. This is one of our native orchids. It's called crane fly orchid. And it's going to put up a beautiful flower stalk and have little tiny orchid flowers on it. Really beautiful early spring wildflower. So to identify it, look for a pointed leaf with parallel veins. See, it has all these, I call it racing stripes. It has all of its veins go in parallel to each other.
Will
And
it
then
have the dots?
It has
Or is that
warts.
just
Yeah,
bugs?
feel them. They're like warts.
What was that plant
And then it
called?
has, this is crane fly orchid.
No, what was the plant called yesterday that you said it was Nature's Day?
Oh
That's the plantain.
Yeah.
We'll look at that when we get back to the main area. We might find some out here. But look for that purple bottom. This is a gorgeous native wildflower. And if you see these and you see people trying to pick them, tell them not to, because they're endangered.
Fight them
So,
all.
Crane fly orchid, one of our many native orchids. So we want to protect those ones. You want to let it get the sun, because right now it's just getting the little bit of sun it can, so we don't want to put any leaves on it. But we don't want to step on them. So see, when you're walking, try not to smush them too much.
Look
If you-
about 10 feet ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we.
So that's crane fly
That's what
orchid.
we're told to do when we would do races in the woods.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go to that.
You guys see how many beaches are in